Yo, what's good people? It's Dex Production here. This is my first video for this year, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to make an fancy artwork in Photoshop. This was inspired by Annie, which is one of my friend on Instagram. When I saw this artwork, I was like, I should try it out and see what I'm going to end up with. So in today's video, I will be walking you through the process of how I made the artwork. Without any further delay, let's get into Photoshop and make the dream come true.
Like I said earlier, I want to create a fancy scene, so I started with cutting out this girl. I grabbed my object selection tool, changed it to lasso, and then I selected her. And I also used my brush to erase out the parts that are not necessary. So with some minimum, I make the edge smoother. After I was done with that, I now created a new composition. So I bring in the sky and also the castle that I want to use. So I also brought in the girl and I started placing her into the position I want her to be. I want her to come out of the castle roof, so I used my pen to cut out the shape and I added the layer marks to her. So I used my brush to erase out the parts that I want to show in outside the castle. So at this point, I did not really know what to do, so I was just twinkling throughout the process, but I later came up with a brilliant idea. So the idea I came up with was to turn this into like a roof that she's sitting down, and then a side of roof is just there and she's like resting her leg on it. So I did that, and I also used some shadows to make it much more realistic. I used some levels to add shadow underneath, and I duplicated it. I erased out some parts and it looks amazing. So I also used some levels to draw in the shadow that I was talking about earlier. So after I was done, I used some exposure to add in some highlight on it, so it looks 3D. So after I was done with that, I also erased out some edge of the shadow to make it fade. So I also painted some shadows on the roof, so it looks like it's sitting on the wall. After I was done with that, I added some levels and also added some levels to the sky and color balance, and I also added some color balance to the castle. So now I brought in the cloud. After I brought in the cloud, I tweaked it a bit and also brought in the main castle, and then also added some levels and some color balance, and I also erased out some bottom part. So I also bring in the second castle. I did the same process, added some levels, some color balance, and erased out some parts at the bottom. So after I was done with that, I flipped the image horizontal so to get the look that I'm going for, and I also bring in the second sky, change the blending mode to screen, and I use my brush to erase out some parts, just a little bit of it. After that, I duplicated the sky and brought it up, and I used my brush to erase out some parts and bring in some parts. So after I was done with that, I added some levels to the castle, and so I started working on the girl. I added some levels on her and also some color balance, and I erased out some the levels on some of our parts so that the highlights will show on her. And I also brought in this light image to light up the lamp. So it's now time to draw some highlights on her body, some rim highlights. So I grabbed in my brush, so I set the flow to 100 and then I started painting her. While I'm painting the highlights, I was super careful so I won't place the highlight on the wrong part. So after I was done painting the highlight, I also added some levels and I also painted some extra highlights to her leg, so to just make it much more realistic. So after I was done painting the highlight on her, I move on to adding some life to the roof. And after I was done, I also started adding some twinkling to the castle, like adding some highlights, adding some shadow to make it much more realistic and 3D.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So if you're watching this video till this moment, I want to say thank you, but before you leave, consider subscribing and also click the notification bell so you get a video notification once I upload my new video. So the last twinkling I did was to add in some extra cloud with my cloud brush, and after I was done adding the cloud, I added some twinkling and also with some camera raw filter, I was good to go.
Audio Jungle.